like a lot of people, I made the mistake of thinking that, oh, I'm a smart guy, I can get my books done, no problem. And I'm sure I could have if I devoted myself to it, but man, I just don't know general accounting practices. I don't know the ins and outs of reconciling accounts, and I quickly fell behind. And that was the biggest thing. I quickly fell behind. And I was using an Excel spreadsheet to input all my costs and everything, but come tax time, it wasn't robust enough and it wasn't good enough, and I was losing money because I wasn't as organized as I should be. That's a problem. So, consequently, when I reached out to my mentor and I said, hey, I'm having this issue, what do I do? And he said, you need to hire a bookkeeper. Fast forward a handful of years later, and now I'm teaching you exactly what my mentor taught me, and it's how to hire a bookkeeper. So let's talk about some of the things that the bookkeeper is going to do for you, how to hire them, and then we're going to go through a basic demo of some accounting practices so you can see exactly what yours should look like, or at least what kind of data you should be getting. So first and foremost, bookkeepers are there to reconcile your transactions, which means make sure the money in your books matches the money in your bank account. That simple. Bookkeepers come in all shapes and sizes. They are private individuals, sometimes they're freelancers, sometimes they work for large accounting firms, but the important distinction is that bookkeepers are not always CPAs or accountants. Bookkeepers are there to manage the transactions within your books, but they don't prep your taxes and file your taxes. That's a completely different job. You need a tax preparer, a CPA, or an EA for that. People who are skilled in terms of the IRS laws and can really help you navigate the tax scene. So in this video, we're not talking about taxes. We're simply talking about keeping track of your money in and out, which is the prerequisite to filing a good tax return anyway. So that covers what a bookkeeper is. But what do they do? Like what should a bookkeeper be doing for you every month? You just say, hey, I want you to do my books, and they'll automatically know what to do? No. What we want is a bookkeeper to be providing income statements, balance sheets, or profit and losses on a monthly basis. The reason why we want to do this is so that we have a good idea of where all the money is coming from in our business. We want to know on a monthly basis how much money we're making. We also want to know on a monthly basis how much money is going out. That's considered your profit and loss and is also known as an income statement. Let's look at a sample income statement for the year of 2021. You can see here that all the revenue came in, $95,000 in total revenue. And the cost in order to produce that revenue is $26,000. You can see anything that is deducted from the account is in parentheses. That's the same thing as a minus symbol. It's the same thing as a cost. So when we're looking at money in, it's written in whole numbers. When we're looking at money out, it's written in parentheses. Now, once we have our revenue and we know how much it cost us to make that revenue, we're going to get something called gross profit. And that's the amount of money we make before all of our operating expenses and deductions. Okay, so it goes gross revenue, and then your cost of sales or your cost of goods is then subtracted from that, and then you get gross profit. Okay, but then we need to work our way down to net profit down at the bottom of this sheet. And so we're going to go through all of our operating expenses and we're going to see how much money we spent on each one. So you can see here that the bookkeeper has gone in and looked at all of our receipts and all of our transactions and categorized them for us. We put in the bank and ATM fee expenses, dues and membership, gifts, furniture, business meals. These are all expenses that go into making money, and they're all a deduction. So at the end of the day, we had about $68,000 in gross profit, but we spent about $46,000 in operating expenses. That leaves us with a net profit of $22,000 for the year. This is how your income statement or profit and loss should look. Now, these profit and losses can be broken down by the quarter, they can be broken down by the month, or they can be broken down by the year. Those are the three main date ranges that you're going to see when looking at profit and loss sheets. However, when you're working with your bookkeeper, you want them to provide a profit and loss or income statement every month. Every single month, you want to know what this is. Expect to have your documents by the second week of the month following. So if it's November, expect to get your profit and loss for November by mid-December. That way you have an accurate idea of where your money's going, how much you have, etc., etc. The next thing that you're going to want is a balance sheet. Now, balance sheets are a little bit different, and they don't need to be received as frequently as monthly, but I still get them monthly because I still think they're a great way to take a look at everything that you own. Balance sheets show three main things: assets, liabilities, and equity. So let's dig into those a little bit so we can understand it even more. Assets are anything that are worth money. Cash, properties, outstanding money that's being transferred, cash that's sitting in bank accounts, money set aside for taxes. These are all assets, all things that can be sold or converted into cash pretty easily and fairly quickly. Then we have liabilities. Liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket on a monthly basis. They're things that you owe money for. Credit card bills, payroll, accounts payable, like let's say you owe somebody money and you have to pay them in 30 days. These are all liabilities and are all reflected on your balance sheet. Lastly, we have equity. Equity is the amount of money that is not exactly in a liquid form like an asset, but something less tangible. For example, we can consider member contributions as equity. So let's say you partnered with Jeff and John partner to make a company and they each put in $5,000. Well, Jeff and John have each put in $5,000. That means $10,000 of total equity is in the company. And so they're owed that equity, but it's not necessarily a liability. And so there's different ways of looking at things. So those are the two things that a bookkeeper should be providing you: income statements and balance sheets. So let's take a look at the overview so we can get a better idea of what bookkeeping really looks like. And here's my favorite part about this accounting system. You can see this is the dashboard. We have a couple different sections here. But what it does is it breaks down your net profit over a series of months. And you can see this graph and it's really, really handy. You can see in some months you make a lot. Maybe you get a bunch of accounts receivable coming in, which are money that hasn't been paid to you yet, but it's owed to you. And it finally comes in and you have a big spike. And then maybe there's some months where you spend more than you earn. But in the end, you have earned a net profit of $22,000. This is what you want to see. You want to be able to see where you spent your money. I love having a dashboard that tells you exactly where you're at. But the only way to achieve this is to have up-to-date books. All right, let's look at some other stuff. Now, if you want to upload any documents to your bookkeeper, you absolutely can do that. I highly suggest uploading documents to your bookkeeper on a regular basis. Now, Bench makes it really, really simple to upload documents. There's a couple different ways we can do it. The first is by clicking on the upload button and uploading the documents, simply from your computer. But that's kind of a pain in the ass. Like if you have a receipt in your hand, how do you get it onto the computer? Like, are you gonna Dropbox it, Slack it to yourself, take a picture, drag it over? Okay, that can work. You can also use the app. That's another great way to do it. Or you can simply snap a picture and email it to receipts plus bench and whatever your bench name is at bench.co. Super easy, email uploading, literally go in there and upload receipts. There's also another way to do it. You can go into your messages and you can upload a document right here, and you can upload a document directly to your bookkeeper. And that brings me to the messages section. Bench.co is a company that specializes in bookkeeping. They use people, they don't use computers. That's their claim to fame. That's what they're best at. They connect you with a specific bookkeeper who's gonna onboard you into this system, make sure that all of your accounts are set up, and then they're gonna be here to communicate with you and ask you any questions. For example, hey, I forgot to upload a receipt from the gas station. Can you mark the transaction on 12/10 as fuel expense? And then you could send that to your bookkeeper and they're done. It's that simple. This is how you would communicate with your bookkeeper. You have a nice little portal. You don't have to email back and forth and your history is all there. You can even book a call, which I think is really, really cool. Okay, let's go back to some of the other features that I think are awesome. The documents section is great because you can upload tax documents and your bookkeeper can export documents here for you. This is where you're gonna find your profit and loss, income statement, and balance sheet. All important documents if you wanna get a loan or if you wanna give them to your tax provider. Now, we have another section. If you click on the little wheel and you go to the settings, you can go over to your profile and you can adjust all of your addresses and everything else that you need to use for your profile. You can also adjust your billing. However, you can also link up your bank accounts and your credit cards. And this is really important. This connections tab is super important and it makes things so much easier. You can link in your credit cards by clicking the plus button. You can use Plaid to connect to your bank so that your bank statements are automatically uploaded. And you can also connect your merchant accounts like Stripe, Square, Shopify, Gusto, and I'm sure you can do PayPal as well. These are fantastic settings, fantastic integrations, and they make bookkeeping so much easier. Okay, so after you have everything filled out, you've been onboarded into the account, you understand what you need. We know that we need an income statement and a balance sheet on a monthly basis. All that's left for you to do is upload receipts and then make sure you're communicating with your bookkeeper. That's it. So if you're interested in a service like this, the best way to handle it is to find someone who can accomplish what you need them to accomplish. If you just need a bookkeeper or some very easy, mellow tax prep for a side hustle or a business that you're starting, this is a great option. And if you use the link in the description, you can get 30% off the first 3 months of your bookkeeping services with Bench. I highly suggest you check it out. The next thing is just to stay organized. And that's the final piece of advice that I have for you. Stay as organized as possible, because the more organized you are financially, the easier it is to save money. If you were to bring me a full chart of accounts and you said, Evan, I need a wealth map. I want to learn how to save money on taxes. Can you connect me with a CPA who knows how to put together an S-Corp and do all these amazing things for me, just like the rich and wealthy? Then we would absolutely be able to, because we have a organized system of all your money in and out. And that's what you need in order to start playing the game like a pro. If you have any questions or you need some clarification on the bookkeeping process, what bookkeepers do, or how to get in touch, please leave a comment below or shoot me a message. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, keep educating, stay organized, and be good to future you.